Outriders is a third-person, drop-in-and-out co-op action RPG developed by People Can Fly and published by Square. Made with the Unreal Engine 4 and released in April for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, with this gameplay's footage coming from the Xbox Series X courtesy of Game Pass. Outriders is filled with a ton of lore and backstory, having to explain exactly why a group of Outriders and 500,000 colonists are on a ship to some planet called Enoch. As it turns out, humans couldn't save their own planet due to climate disasters and were forced to find another way to survive. So the Earth's governments band together to create two ships to carry the colonists and the Outriders to Enoch, a planet they thought had enough similarities to Earth to settle on. The Outriders are a trained group of elite soldiers with a mission to survey the land and ensure the safety of the colonists. Ironically, the planet Enoch has its own geological storms called the Anomaly. The Outriders tried to warn those in charge, but instead were greeted by leadership's own forces to kill the Outriders and silence their stance against settling here. During these fights, your Outrider is exposed to the anomaly, but due to wounds, you're forced into cryostasis to save your life. After 31 years, a group of colonists find you and release you from your current state, and this is really where the story begins.
Fuck me.
The colonization of the planet has failed. Most of the colonists have died due to the anomaly storms and hostile alien life. With the geological storms destroying any advanced technology they had to survive, they're now confined to a small valley. The colonists have split into two groups, one that has stayed dedicated to the plan and another called insurgents, who are essentially rebels depending on who you ask. When someone survives an anomaly storm, they become what they call altered, which are mutated humans due to the storm that give them supernatural powers, giving way to intense fight scenes and a different feel from the rest of the enemies you encounter. The main focus of Outrider's story is moving to a location to activate a satellite uplink, which will connect to the ship above Enoch to release the other portion of the supplies that were cut off due to the anomaly storm. As an Outrider, you choose between four classes: the Pyromancer, the Technomancer, the Trickster, and the Devastator. You get different abilities and powers depending on your class, as well as a completely different skill tree which acts as the effects from the storm. You have a loadout that consists of two main weapons, a pistol, and full armor customization, which includes a helmet, a breastplate, gloves, pants, and boots. All the weapons and gear come in common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary, which is pretty standard in these types of games. They also have customizable modifiers that cause different effects and damage for all your equipment to really control what you want to do and how you want to play, which was very well done. There are a lot of stats to pay attention to, from firepower to armor to skill leech and different types of range damage. There's plenty to upgrade and change. As with most RPGs, you can dismantle and sell your gear from materials and resources, all of which mostly takes place in your base camp in every area. It consists of a store, a gear customization spot, a beacon to play with your friends, an ammo reload box, and a ride to take you to the next area. With all the different customization options, from how you look to the modifiers and effects to the weapons and how they act to the abilities and skill trees to even the lore and backstory, you can feel from top to bottom how much devotion, time, and love People Can Fly put into their game. The game acts as a linear game broken up into multiple different mini open worlds as you move through the world map. You start west and scroll east, traversing several different ecosystems as you fight your way up to an area to initiate your satellite uplink. You have small outposts where civilizations have settled to war cities fortified by trenches, into forests, and even get into some sand in the desert. The diverse areas are distinct and memorable that leaves the door open to returning to do all the side missions and gather all the collectibles the game has to offer. Speaking of, one thing I love about the side activities the game has to offer is how much it all adds up to the lore and to the amount of time you spend being rewarded. You earn items when an enemy is killed, and you also earn items when collecting your bounty or turning in your hunter quests. Which brings us to our next point. The diversity of enemies in the game makes it feel fresh and new throughout the entire gameplay. You fight rebel enemies as well as alien monsters and animals, but you also fight these enemies referred to as ferals. Sparrows are an altered version of the native civilization of the planet of Enoch that were altered to defend their planet from the death that follows the human invaders. It adds an element to the story that absolutely deserved to have been touched on due to the fact it adds a sense of humanity and understanding to the natives of Enoch.
I found some ancient carvings. Seems like it might be some kind of hieroglyphics from August people.
Incredible. Can you make anything out?
Not really my area of expertise.
As for the achievements in the game, they're all pretty straightforward. All are core gameplay related and easily achievable if you just take a peek at them as you play through the game. Only 3 achievements were left after completing the initial story arc, which are capable of being completed using the expedition missions, which are available after completing the main story. Let's touch on this for a moment. The expedition missions are 14 instances that are in a separate map that still overlays the main story map. There are only a few available at a time as they are shown to you in a randomly generated system, with the very last one only being available till after you've unlocked 14 levels of a separate tier system, which adds difficulty each time you level up. Slightly confused? Yeah, me too. Personally, I'm not a fan of this extra system. It's overly convoluted in a game that was otherwise laid out well. In the main story, you work towards the goal of increasing your world tiers. This is the game's system of controlling the difficulty. The higher the world tier, the higher the difficulty, and the better gear drop you get, which adds true value to playing on such a high difficulty. Which felt like a great addition to the game and something I haven't seen before. With spending so much time with this initial system only to be pushed aside in the endgame missions was something that turned me off to the entire expedition system. Why would you want to re-tier the difficulty after doing the same thing throughout the initial playthrough? It would have been best served as a list of missions that you have to complete 1 through 13, culminating in the last 14th expedition using the initial world tier system. Although I understand the thinking to retain players after they've completed the game, but it just ends up feeling like a corny addition to keep playtime numbers higher than they should be. The game doesn't need it and can stand on its own without forcing the player to spend extra time replaying expedition missions in order to unlock the final 14th. With that being said, the missions themselves are still enjoyable and worthwhile to play through at least once.
I am not playing. But you are something even more. Altered and Outrider. The last Outrider. Do what you were sent here for. Go!
Another feature of the game is its co-op ability. You can join a random squad of up to 3 players or play with friends, both in the main story and the expeditions. Initially there were some connectivity issues I experienced with this, but now the game has been patched and stabilized for the co-op experience, which I highly recommend. It adds another dimension to the game that actually made it more fun to play, especially with a friend. The storyline is played out to whoever the host of the party is, but the co-op players get to keep all the gear and resources they find and take back to their own game. Not a groundbreaking feature, but definitely a great element that allowed for a better game. Although the main character takes the same story no matter what, the want to play as another class is high due to the quality of gameplay and how much lore there is to digest. The ability to navigate the map the way you see fit also adds an element that would have been non-existent in a linear game. The amount of different experiences you can have replaying the game carry a lot of weight and only adds value to the game. As far as the barcode value is concerned, the game's value is high and is only reinforced by the amount of times you can potentially replay it. The game's initial 100% completion, including all side missions, took roughly 60 hours to complete, which according to the barcode value system just comes in at a perfect value for the $60 you would spend purchasing the game. Now if you're lucky enough to have an Xbox or a PC, there's almost no doubt you have Game Pass, which allows you to play the game for free. Xbox's Game Pass value remains unmatched in the industry today, and I have to thank them once again for bringing a banger of a game to a wider, more accessible audience for a game that absolutely deserves it. Overall, the game's performance, the story, and its gameplay were all top-notch. There are quality of life patches I'd like to see them roll out sooner than later, but there's no guarantee that they will ever be addressed. The biggest complaint being game crashes, which I only experienced a handful of times on the Series X. I have to stress this one thing though. The lack of monetization within the game is breathtaking and exactly what I needed after a long run with Call of Duty and other highly monetized games. No battle pass, no loot boxes, no cosmetic store. This is brilliant at a time where these features are widely used and abused. With that being said, there's currently no roadmap of future content drops or DLCs, which make for a game experience uniquely limited to what the game comes with out the box. As much as I hope for future DLCs, I hope just as much for a sequel that is every bit as good and satisfying as Outriders has been. My final grade is an A-. Aside from the quality of life issues that aren't game-breaking, this game has a ton to love and enjoy. This was honestly the first sci-fi shooter experience I've played thoroughly without getting bored or overwhelmed. After dabbling a bit with both Destinies, this was refreshing and a welcomed invite back into a genre I didn't know that I could enjoy again. I'd absolutely recommend at least giving it a chance, especially if you have Game Pass. Turning this skeptic into a believer over just a few hours, I have no doubt that you'll enjoy it as much as I did. Outriders is out now for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. That concludes the review of Outriders. As always, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for checking out the review. Hopefully you found it informative and was able to make a smart decision about your next game. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below and I'll be sure to answer them all. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you. Till next time.
Fuck me. Zahidi? I think I'm staring at a nuke.
A thermonuclear bomb? I wonder Tanner's daughter was willing to give her life to keep that hatch closed. I think it might be very wise to close it again and throw away the keys.
Zahidi? Something's happening. The machines! They're crashing!
You need to get out of there before it explodes.
Warning! Safety controls failing. Missile launch imminent. Warning!
Okay, that's not good. What do I do?
I don't know. You think I know anything about nuclear bombs? Wait. Is there a refrigerator around?
A refrigerator?
Yeah, a fucking refrigerator. You know what a fucking refrigerator is?
Yeah, I found it!
Oh, thank God. Now get inside.
What?
Get inside the refrigerator. The lead will protect you.
That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard!
I saw it somewhere.
That's not gonna happen!
Countdown to launch initiated.